Alright, kids, we're going to play story time. So, I am going to be talking about my D&D character. Her name is Calypso Tzefyra Maelstrom Huntsberger. And, she's a aristocrat by birth and also have Siren. And for some reason in my head, whenever I hear her speaking, for some reason it sounds like she's talking like the Queen of England, and I don't really know why, but that's why she talks. I've decided. She is vain and a brat and spoiled and used to getting her way, and I kind of her main first inspiration was like, I wanted to take every Disney princess trope that I could think of and just throw them all together and just see what happens. So because she's a siren, when she sings, magical things can happen, which is a very Disney princess kind of thing. She's got like the Little Mermaid aspect to her. She is very smart and likes to read. So there's Belle. She has like a jealous mother figure. So that's every princess ever. So basically she was born in a kingdom that is on the edge of the ocean, and her mother is named Calypso, and she named her daughter after herself because she's very vain. And I based her mother's personality off of something called an abominable beauty. They're a fae, and if you insult like their beauty or like mess up their looks or whatever, they get very violent. And so I had her mom be kind of like a siren version of that. So instead of doing like fire damage, it was water damage. So anyway, she married this man named Lars, who was an artificer, and he rose up in power and money in their kingdom. And then he ended up being an aristocrat, and they had 3 daughters. And Tzefyra is the oldest, and she goes by Tzefyra because her mom and her have the same name, so she goes by her middle name. She is her father's favorite because she is smart and actually pays attention when he's doing all his inventions and stuff, and she's more siren than human, unlike the rest of her sisters who are more human than siren. So it also causes her to be kind of a rival to her mother, which is not real, but it's in her mom's head. So she is not her mother's favorite, she is her father's favorite. And because she's just more entertaining, and he's kind of annoyed by his wife anyway. So he absolutely adores his daughter, and when he's working on some invention when she's like 13, and it accidentally kills her. And so he spent lots of time and money to bring her back because they kind of live on the edge of the kingdom. And finally he did, but he kind of went a little mad doing it and kind of expended, is that a word? Got rid of all of their funds, and her mom was just totally pissed off that it was all done just to save the kid. And when she was brought back, she was more revenant than human, so creepy, and people were freaked out by her. And so her dad realized that she was drifting more towards undead than alive, so he made this necklace and put more of his energy and money into putting a spell in it that kind of keeps her more drifted towards the mortal plane than the Shadowfell. And to keep her wearing the necklace all the time, he says like she's cursed, and if she ever takes it off she'll die, and she was a kid, so she believed her dad, and so she always wears it and is like scared if it ever comes off of her. And so she isn't really allowed to do much, isn't allowed to go to school, isn't allowed to be around other children because she's very delicate. Her constitution like really crappy because she is basically undead, and she is not really aware of it, but sometimes has these seizures and sometimes has these weird dreams and is drawn to the shadow sort of powers, but is scared of it. So she tries to be more of a bard. She eventually talks her way into going to school and trying to be a normal kid, but she realizes that being in charge of people is a lot more fun, so she kind of becomes like the most popular girl in school, and Sorcerer School, or the magical Hogwarts of D&D, I don't know. And she's very controlling of everybody, and she loves it, and she ends up being very similar to her mother, very vain, very spoiled, very loving all the attention. And she ends up falling for a prince, and they're going to get married, and it's going to be great and wonderful. And in the midst of all that, her dad's kind of sanity has really dwindled away, and he's found dead. And she's not exactly sure what happened, and she thinks maybe her mom did it. She's not really sure. But she's just like totally distraught. So she's really happy to just get married and just get out of this stupid family without her dad around now. And her mom is just so jealous of the fact that she's going to be married like a prince that she tells the prince that Zeph basically is really alive and therefore wouldn't be able to actually have kids. And the prince is like, well, I can't be a prince without like heirs. So he calls off the wedding, and Zeph isn't exactly sure, but she's pretty sure her mom manipulated or did something, because like he ends up marrying her mom, and it's like totally embarrassing and awful, and she can't believe her mom is like that manipulative and evil. But then she's like, yeah, it's my mom, she's awful. So at the wedding, Zeph finally just like loses it, and is just like calling them out on all kinds of stuff, which is not good because it's like the crown prince. And so she super embarrasses her family and everybody there, and her mom, without her dad there to protect her, her mom disowns her and sends her off to the lawbearer house to keep her under control and to keep her out of scandal. And while there, she decides that she hates it and wants to escape. So she, while they are on a pilgrimage, conveniently gets lost and then goes on her own adventures. And while she's on her adventure, she meets up with the troupe that she's with now and starts to try to have life outside of aristocracy. It's a little hard for her because, like I said, she's spoiled and kind of a brat, but she's learning to use her bard powers in different ways. But also, she eventually is going to be more Shadow Sorcerer than Bard. She's only going to have 3 levels in Glamour Bard, and the rest are all going to be Shadow Sorcerer. She's right now only level 3, and her constitution is awful, and she's very squishy. But it kind of fits her character that she is got a low constitution and that she starts out as a Bard. But then eventually we'll see that her shadow powers are stronger, and so she decides to go on with that to get her revenge on her mom and everybody who was mean to her and didn't let her hang out with them because they thought she was creepy. And she always has to have her necklace with her, which is funny because in the picture I drew it in the sketch, but I didn't draw it on her, so just pretend she's holding her necklace because she has to have her necklace on her at all times, or else she basically becomes a revenant, which is kind of like an undead creature, kind of trapped in between life and death. It came back to like, because they have a purpose, they're not ready to die yet, kind of thing. So she's not quite a revenant, but it's similar to that, because she was supposed to die and her dad ripped her soul back, basically, to come back to life. And so now she's learning all that, and yeah, she's just a cool cat, and I just love playing her, and I love drawing her. I've drawn so many pictures of her, and she goes by Zephy or Zeph. And even when we play, I kind of just talk like I'm just super important, but in my head, like the original, like I said, was that she was going to be like, oh, hello, yes, I'm just so wonderful and all these things, but I thought it was going to be a little too much, so I didn't do it. But in my head, that's totally the way she sounds. But anyway, that is Lady Calypso Tzefyra Maelstrom Huntsberger, and that is her story, and I'm sticking to it. Yeah. All right. And I fiddled with this thing for a while. All right. Goodbye.